Hi, I'm Michael LaFosse from the Origami Do Studio, and this etude is the wet folding of the yellow Tang for Mariko Kondo Miyatake. And here is an example of one folded from the back-coated and painted handmade Japanese paper. This is from a 9.5-inch square, and the paper is colored the same on both sides. Here are some tools and materials that you may find useful. Water in a spray bottle or a moist towel. A bamboo skewer or a knitting needle to open tight areas, a bone folding tool or any type of tool like the bottom of a spoon or the side of your thumbnail, and not essential but sometimes helpful, jeweler's pliers that have nylon jaws to protect the paper. Notice that I've trimmed the paper. If you have a combination of paint and back-coated paper that you especially like, or for every piece you have remnants, why not save some of these pieces and label them? Let's begin by wetting our paper. I'm going to use the spray bottle to lightly mist the front side, and then the damp towel, could be a paper towel as well, to brush the droplets evenly across the surface. Wet both sides. Notice the shiny edges here where the methylcellulose paste has held the paper tight to the plastic sheet for drying. When you wet that area, the shine disappears, so it's really of no consequence. The paper is ready to fold when it no longer looks nor feels wet, but it's going to feel cool to the touch and it's supple. So let the paper have a moment to drink. Fold in half diagonally, bottom corner to top. Unfold. Rotate 90 degrees without flipping the paper over. Fold in half diagonally, bottom corner to top. Unfold. You should have crossing diagonal valley creases on one side. Flip the paper over and rotate it square, bottom edge to top. Unfold. Rotate 90 degrees without flipping the paper over, bottom edge to top. We've installed creases that will allow us to collapse the paper into the traditional preliminary form or preliminary base. So you're going to use your mountains and valleys to do this. And it's a standard technique to make this base. Lift the top layer of the preliminary form and mount and fold through the crease, moving the flap out to the right. Notice the crease here. We're going to use that as a guide. Take the long folded top edge and fold it to align with this crease. It's helpful to exercise that hinge, so unfold that. Take a moment to reverse this crease from valley to mountain. This crease is flexible. Restore the flap's position, lift the flap up, and open for a squash fold. Notice what's happening to this flap. It's going over to the left. Keep your layers together here. Align this crease with the split. If you have a bone folding tool, you may take a moment to sharpen the creases with that or with the side of your thumbnail. The topmost flap is going to be hinged over for a moment. That's to exercise this hinge line. Stand the flap straight up, open from the short end, and this is where this tool is helpful, all the way to the point. Squash fold. We're going to mount and fold this square corner, making the fold span these two corners here. You can open the paper or rotate it like this and take a look inside. Okay, reflatten. Take the right half of this flap and turn it over to the left. Fold the long edge of the flap to the hinge crease. While we're here, take this short raw edge and fold it to the hinge crease. Unfold the flap and make one of the tail fin lobes by taking this topmost corner and turning it over at an angle like this. Return this flap to the right. You can see part of the tail folded here. Let's do the same thing on the left. Turn the page. Take the long folded edge to the hinge. While we're here, take the short raw edge from this flap to the same hinge line. Return that flap. To make the tail fin symmetrical, move this topmost flap to match the one below. Return the flap. We're going to move the tail flap out to this end, and we're going to inside reverse fold these left and right flaps, making a petal fold. The hinge for the petal fold will span the crease ends here and there. So begin by lifting up the tail. Use these large valley creases from the original pre-creasing we did. Guide new folds from these hinge pivot points up here to the center of the tail. So here we have the tail, and we form the body for the fish. At this point, your fish could be swimming to the right if you continue with the paper oriented as it is in the diagrams. If you decided to have the fish swim toward the left, you'd rotate it this way. We're going to follow the diagram's orientations. We're going to form the pectoral fin by taking this topmost flap and folding it over to touch a point on that line that's about 1/3 from the bottom or 1/4 from the bottom. Anything in that range is fine, right about there. Here's the shape. We're going to mount and fold a portion of this obtuse corner behind the fin area. It's a rat fold, R-A-T, right about there. We're also going to blunt these top and bottom corners. That could be done at any time. And in the diagrams, there are indications for placement with some crease landmarks, but you can rat fold these. Just think about the shape of a fish's body and go for it. Like that. I like to have it tapering toward the back end. You can begin to make the paper for the fish's eye, holding this point as a limit at the bottom and using this vertex as an alignment point. Pick up the flap, being restricted at the bottom, folding it over so that this inside edge intersects that vertex. Take about 2/3 of this flap and fold it down across, aiming toward this end. About that much. Take the remnant and mount and fold it underneath everything. We'll end up with paper for the eye right about there. Turn the paper over with the tail at the top corner, bottom corner to the square corner, and pinch at the center. Unfold. bottom corner to the pinch at the center of the pinch, and pinch down here at the center. The bottom corner touches the center of the pinch mark. Here we have a vertical center line. These raw edges will move toward alignment with the center line. And once aligned, flatten carefully through all the layers. Same thing on the other side. This side has the paper for the eye. It's okay if there's a little bit of a gap. Just make sure everything is parallel to the center line. Notice that these two obtuse corners are not symmetrical. It's perfectly all right. Choose the one that's furthest away from the front edge of the mouth as your guide for the next fold. Mount and fold behind and perpendicular to the center line. Notice too that there's a little square cornered flap underneath. This is useful for our next fold. One at a time, we're going to fold these flaps outward. I'm going to use this little square corner as a guide for that end of the fold, roughly about there. Back here, where the paper will naturally stop the fold flat, is the other end of the fold. Let's do the same thing with the other flap. Move it out and guiding between those 2 points. We're going to fold through these 2 acute corners of the triangle flaps and then fold back out. So, first, fold through the corner. We're not folding the angle in half. It's about 1/3, about like that. Then take this flap and move it out, stopping at a natural flat point here and making a little overlap of the previous folded edge. These are rat folds right about there. We're making dorsal and ventral fins. Anything that looks like a nice fin is fine. Let's do the other side. Over approximately 1/3 from the hinge line, and then back out at an angle, right about there. Now we're going to trim these square corners by folding the short edge of the triangle flap to the hinge line, and then taking the newly folded apex and folding it to touch where the square corner touches the folded edge. The paper gets thick here, and when you're folding with acrylic painted paper, it's often helpful to have the pressure of these nylon jawed jewelry pliers. If you don't have them, just firmly fold with a tool or with your thumbnail. Let's do the same thing on the other side. The short edge to the hinge line, the apex to the square corner, and fold. Let's turn the paper over. We need to form the details for the mouth next. Here is the paper that will form the mouth. The eye is here and the pectoral fin. So this is the bottom half of the mouth in relation to those items. Use a small tool, or you can put your finger in there to open the lower pocket. And this is a swivel squash. We swivel over before squashing. I want the folded edge to go all the way up to this vertex here. And squash. We have the lower part of the mouth. Open this pocket above and swivel squash. Look for symmetry between the top half of the mouth and the bottom half, and the front aligning one over the other, and squash. The yellow Tang has a narrow snout, and so we're going to put curved mountain folds through here and there, originating at the thicker ends and actually folding the top and bottom halves of the mouth in half. I'll do the lower one first. Begin with the mouth to fold it roughly in half. It makes it look like it has a tooth in the mouth of the lower jaw. Softly fold, and then before committing the fold, use a sweeping motion with your index finger. The nail is helpful here to create a curved crease, and then set the crease like that. Let's do the same thing for the top half. Begin at the front of the mouth, folding it in half, making what looks like a tooth. Softly fold, and then sweep for the curve. Then open the back of the mouth a little bit and check the shape, like that. Now we'll open the eye. Lift up the layer. You can see a nice eye shape happening. Curved valley crease on the top layer. Curved valley crease down here. Like that. A nice, large, rounded, opened eye. Check it over for any little things that you'd like to improve. Look for symmetry. Rework a few places if they need. But this is a very nice example of the yellow Tang Mariko, named for Mariko Kondo Miyatake, folded from the acrylic luster pigment painted handmade Japanese paper that was back coated. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Thank you for watching.